valley of Clearwater had always been a quiet place. Nestled between rolling green hills and misty pines, it was the kind of land where dawn arrived softly, dew sparkling on grass, the hum of insects rising with the sun. For years, peace had blanketed these fields. The only sounds were the wind and the gentle bleating of alpacas grazing near the fence line. They belonged to Michael Parker, a soft-spoken farmer who'd inherited the ranch from his father. To him, these animals weren't just livestock, they were family. He knew each by name: the shy white one, Mila, who always lingered near the gate, and Toto, the smallest, who followed him everywhere. But peace never lasts long in the wild. High above the valley, hidden in the forest that clung to the cliffs, another creature watched the pasture. A lynx, huge and desperate after a harsh winter, its coat mottled gray and gold. It had lost prey for days, deer too fast, hares too scarce. Now its sharp eyes fixed on the open field below. A herd of alpacas, slow, defenseless. As twilight fell, the forest seemed to hold its breath. Down on the ranch, Michael finished stacking hay while the last light faded behind the ridge. The alpacas grazed peacefully. The evening was too calm. Even the crows were silent. Then Ranger, the old shepherd mix who lived on the farm, stood up from his spot by the barn. His ears perked. His growl was low, uncertain. "What is it, boy?" Michael asked, wiping his hands. Ranger didn't move, his gaze fixed on the tree line. And then, from the shadows, came movement. A blur of fur, a flash of claws. The lynx burst from the forest like lightning. The alpacas screamed, scattering in every direction. Michael's heart slammed against his ribs. No! He sprinted for the truck, grabbing his radio and flashlight. Ranger was already gone, charging across the field, barking furiously. The lynx had locked onto its prey. Mila, the timid white alpaca, trapped against the fence. She froze, trembling, eyes wide. The predator crouched low, muscles rippling, ready to spring. Ranger hit it before it leapt. The two collided in a whirl of fur and snow, snarling, clawing, rolling through the grass. The dog barked, biting wherever he could reach. The lynx roared, raking his side. Michael jumped into the truck and slammed the horn. The blare echoed through the valley, startling the alpacas into a tight group. But the fight raged on. Ranger was brave, but aging, smaller, slower. "Come on, boy, hold on," Michael muttered, flooring the gas. He grabbed his radio. "This is Lee Farm. Lynx attack in the east pasture. Need backup now." A voice crackled back. "Copy that. Rescue team en route. ETA 5 minutes." 5 minutes. It might as well have been forever. The truck skidded to a stop near the fence. Michael jumped out, shouting, waving the flashlight. "Hey, get away from him!" The lynx turned, eyes blazing, fur bristling, blood streaked its muzzle. It hissed, lowering its body toward the ground. Michael took a step back. He could feel its power, the raw, feral strength beneath the fur. Then Ranger barked weakly from the ground, forcing the cat's attention back. The lynx snarled, stepping toward him again. Michael's hands trembled. He wasn't a hunter. He didn't even own a gun anymore. But he couldn't just watch. He grabbed the nearest tool, a steel shovel from the truck bed, and raised it high. The lynx lunged. He swung. Metal met bone with a sickening crack. The animal stumbled, hissing, then whirled and vanished into the trees. Michael dropped to his knees beside Ranger. The dog's fur was matted with blood, sides heaving. "Hang on," he whispered. Ranger licked his hand, eyes dim but steady. Then, from the distance, came headlights cutting through the dark. The wildlife rescue unit had arrived. The first out of the truck was Emma Hart, field medic and wildlife officer. Behind her, Daniel Cross carried a tranquilizer rifle and medical kit. "Where's the cat?" Daniel asked. "Headed north toward the ridge," Michael said. "It hit my dog, my alpacas. Please, just help them." Emma dropped to her knees beside Ranger, hands moving fast. "Pulse is strong, deep lacerations, but he'll live." Daniel scanned the tree line. "We'll track it before it circles back." He turned to Michael. "Get your animals into the barn. We'll take care of the rest." Michael nodded, still shaking. "Be careful. That thing's huge." Daniel smirked faintly. "Aren't they all?" He vanished into the dark with his rifle. Emma stayed behind, tending to Ranger, wrapping bandages around his wounds. The old dog whined softly but didn't resist. Michael herded the panicked alpacas toward the barn, calling their names like children. "Mila, Toto, come on! Inside, inside!" Snow began to fall again, thin flakes drifting in the beam of Emma's flashlight. Somewhere beyond the trees came a single echoing growl. Half an hour passed before Daniel returned. He carried his rifle low, snow clinging to his jacket. "Got the lynx sedated," he said. "She's a big one, probably hungry enough to take anything that moved." Emma exhaled. "We'll transfer her to the center in the morning." Michael rubbed his face, exhausted. God, I thought we'd lose them." "You didn't," Daniel said simply. "You fought for them." He looked down at Ranger, who was still conscious, tail flicking weakly. And so did he. Morning came pale and cold. Frost coated the windows of the barn, but inside, it was warm with the smell of hay and life. The alpacas were calm again, huddled close together. Mila leaned her head against Toto, eyes half closed. Ranger lay near the door, wrapped in blankets, an OAV line taped to his paw. Emma sat beside him, scribbling notes. "He's stable," she told Michael. "You did everything right." Michael knelt beside the old dog. "You scared me, you know that?" he murmured. "Guess I'm gonna owe you steak dinners for life." Ranger's tail tapped the floor once, faint but certain. Emma smiled. "He's earned it." Outside, the rescue truck idled, the tranquilized lynx safely caged in the back. Daniel leaned against the fender, watching the sun rise over the valley. "She'll be relocated to the reserve up north," he called. "Plenty of deer there. She won't bother anyone again." Michael nodded. "Good. Let her have her forest. We'll keep our peace." Weeks passed, and winter slowly surrendered to spring. The valley turned green again. Rivers thawed, flowers bloomed, and the ranch came back to life. The alpacas grew bolder, venturing farther into the pasture under warmer skies. Ranger healed too, though the limp stayed, a badge of honor, a reminder of that night. And word of the rescue spread. The local paper ran the headline, "Fearless Heroes Save Alpacas from Ferocious Lynx Attack." The story went viral, photos of the recovery, the scarred dog standing beside the rescued alpacas, Michael shaking hands with the rescue team. But for Michael, the story was simpler than that. It wasn't about fame, it was about gratitude. One evening, near sunset, he stood at the fence with Emma and Daniel, watching the herd graze peacefully under gold light. You ever think about why we do it? Emma asked softly. Daniel chuckled. Because no one else will. Michael smiled faintly. Because it's right, he said. Because they count on us. Emma nodded, eyes distant. Every time we save one life out here, it feels like we're pushing the world a little closer to good again. Down in the field, Mila and Toto grazed side by side. Ranger sat nearby, his gaze scanning the horizon. He was older now, slower, but his eyes were still bright, still ready. From the woods came a faint rustle, just wind through branches, harmless. Yet Ranger lifted his head anyway, alert for a moment. Then, satisfied, he lay back down, tail thumping softly. The valley exhaled. When summer arrived, the rescue team returned one last time, bringing news. The lynx had adapted well to the northern reserve, healthy, hunting naturally again. Michael listened quietly, then looked toward his animals. Guess even the wild deserves a second chance. Emma smiled. You'd be surprised how often that's true. They stayed for coffee as twilight fell. Fireflies flickered across the pasture, tiny sparks in the dark. The alpacas settled for the night, their hums low and steady. Ranger lay at Michael's feet, eyes half closed, one paw resting on the edge of his boot. Michael glanced down at him, voice low. You saved them, you know. Ranger's tail brushed the grass. The night grew still again, peaceful as it once was, only now it felt different. The valley had seen violence, but it had also witnessed courage. And that's the story of the fearless heroes of Clearwater Valley. The farmer, the rescue team, and the old dog who stood between innocence and the wild. When the lynx came, they didn't run. They fought for what couldn't fight for itself. If this story touched you, leave a comment, share it, and subscribe for more. Till next time, remember, true heroism isn't loud. It's the quiet courage that stands guard when the world goes silent.